A pterygium is the fleshy growth that comes from the corner of the eye over onto the cornea that happens to people who are exposed to ultraviolet light to a great extent, typically fishermen, surfers, those sorts of people, but it can happen to anybody. But it's very common in our environment in Australia. What happens is the ultraviolet light changes the cells that live at the edge of the cornea. The cornea is this clear bit on the front of the eye. And those cells change and they grow over onto the surface of the cornea where they don't belong, and they drag the clear covering of the white of the eye, called the conjunctiva, with them. And they change it so that it thickens up and it has more blood vessels in it than it should have. So it looks thicker and fleshier than the rest of the eye. The other thing about that is those blood vessels are abnormal. So with any stimulation at all from wind or dust or irritants, they open up more than all the rest. So that bit always goes more red more easily than the rest of the surface. Now, as that grows over here, that surface is thicker than normal on the cornea, and it changes the curve on the front of the cornea, and that can change the focus. Once it gets past about 3 millimeters onto here, then it produces a change in the focus in that direction, which causes astigmatism, and that can change the focus in the eye and affect vision. Obviously, if it grows directly in front, it would completely obstruct the vision. Now, the only way to fix that is with surgery. There are no drops or medications or anything else that will make the treatment go away. If it's just causing a bit of irritation and discomfort, it's perfectly reasonable just to use some lubricating drops to keep it comfortable and wear sunglasses to protect the eyes from ultraviolet light. Once it gets to the stage of affecting the vision though, it requires surgery. And that is a proper surgical procedure. We either anaesthetize the eye or put you off to sleep for that. And then what we do is cut through the thick fleshy part of it here. This part isn't attached to the underlying surface, so it just pushes off easily. But on the cornea here, it is firmly stuck on. It has to be dissected off, and that surface polished up and evened out as much as possible. And then that leaves a big raw area. Now, if we just leave that to heal over by itself, which it would, then what we know is about half of them will grow back again. And the issue with that is that sometimes the recurrent pterygium is worse than the original one. And certainly in the past it was said that you shouldn't have the procedure done unless it is actually affecting the vision. These days though, we can do some things to prevent that happening. And what we do now is called a conjunctival autograft. So what we do, rather than leaving this area bare, is we get some of the conjunctiva, the covering of the white of the eye, from up under the top eyelid up here where it's never seen the sun, so it's nice and healthy. We cut a rectangle of that out and we stitch and glue it on over here as a graft. That reduces the chance of it growing back to less than 1%. It also, in the long run, makes it look better and feel better, because that new surface there is nice and smooth and slippery. And when it heals, it's very hard to see the edges of the graft, and the corner here just blends into the corner of the eye as it is, so cosmetically it looks much better. The part on the cornea here just heals up by itself, which takes about a week, but that is the most sensitive bit of the eye.